Well met, hunters! Today, we are going to see why every damn gaming company in this world should read FromSoft's manual on how to do a proper DLC.
What did you just do?
It's because I'm fast.
What does this say? The introduction.
NANI? The Old Hunters DLC expanded vastly on the main game and added some kick-ass areas, bosses, weapons, and enemy NPCs. In this brief review, I'll explain to you why this is such a must-buy complement to the base game, and by the end of the video I'm going to show you which were my two biggest roadblocks in the whole game. Actually, roadblock is an understatement, since I had previewed that the capturing footage process was going to last 5 to 6 hours, not 11! Thanks guys, you are the real MVPs. To put it gently, the amygdala in Cathedral Ward takes us for a mad hunter because we have the eye of a blood-drunk hunter with us. So, she takes us to a nightmare, which is a sort of purgatory, created by the child of a great one who died at the fishing hamlet and transformed its villagers into fish people. The rage of the child, who's now an orphan, is a product of the massacre that German, Maria, and other hunters plus the Bergenworth scholars committed at the fishing village, because they wanted to experiment with the Great One's blood and discover its mutational properties in the villagers. This nightmare is a place created to trap mainly the conscience of every hunter who went mad because of the blood in the original game. And ta-da! When they die, they appear here in an afterlife experience to suffer and hunt for the rest of eternity. Have I been clear? Good. I couldn't put it any easier than that. Yharnam. Sweet Yharnam. But is it Yharnam though? Everything is so different. Oh yes, it must be. Here we have Cathedral Ward, that two-floor building next to the Great Bridge, Grand Cathedral, the cemetery. I gotta say, when I landed there the first time, seeing mad hunters fighting the beasts and I kinda reminded me of the Abyss Watchers boss fight. This is a free-for-all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready to rumble! I always love when a game throws in NPC fights to spice up the zone. Makes it feel more alive. As in Sekiro, when the coup starts and you see samurais and gunmen fighting everywhere towards the end of the game. For a nightmare, it is beautiful. I mean, look at this! You have at your disposal the city, that supposedly blood river that is dry, caves with a damn blood-starved beast and machine gun hunter, unfortunately not Jura, the jail full of different hunters, that cathedral housing supposedly Amelia. It is very big on its own, considering this is a DLC. Every corner is packed up with details, be it different types of hunters, new locations, new enemies, or slight variations like the residents who throw timed explosives. It is purely frenetic, and it does an amazing job showing that mad hunters are trapped here forever hunting beasts. Zones where you are locked in a building have never caught my eye in games. I like to be outside, where you can see things from afar, to see the sky, to feel like I have plenty of freedom to move wherever I want, and that's what I loved about Tutorial Yharnam in the base game. That's why Research Hall is my least liked zone in the DLC. I still like it, but it is nowhere near the other two. Its saving grace is the lore behind it and the atrocities you can see the core did to their patients.
Please.
It seems that the zone is plagued with test subjects who had to consume a type of water, the element the core believed to connect the waking world and the dream, and connects them to the Great Ones as well. Sadly, as you can see by the patient's conditions and the boss fight called Living Failures, none of that really worked. It is gruesome and fascinating to see what the people there went through, some of them going mad, some addicted to fluids, some very aggressive. What I didn't like is the enemy variety. There is really only one new type of enemy, the patients, in its big, speedy, normal and crawling varieties. The rest are all enemies we have already seen, like the wheelchair guys, rats, crows, the parry me please guy, and a random hunter that doesn't really do much besides being an annoyance to make you fall down. The verticality. Yep. Nope. Thanks. The Fishing Hamlet. The cursed place where the spark to ignite this DLC started. I really like the zone. I don't know how to explain it, but this murky, depressive, rainy, mysterious vibe is the embodiment of Bloodborne for me. Cushfish, or whatever they are, the citizens, sharks, slugs, parasites, this place has it all. God damn you, Maria, why did you have to throw down your Rakuyo down this well? I fucking hate this place. They even programs the first shark to retreat back towards his partner at half health. So you have to fight both at the same time. Amazing. After making progress, you find a nice cozy hut where my man Simon is dying because of a very annoying healing church assassin. His objective? Hide the truth about Kos. Kill him a few times, get to the caves, kill more fish and slug ladies. You know, the usual. Use the elevator shortcut just in case, go back and wait. What is this? Winter lanterns? Here? Fuck no. Actually, let's give them a shot. Not as bad as Menses, yeah. Hates that place. Anyways, very nice ambience, enemy variety, level design with some shortcuts here and there, a blood rock. It has almost everything except length, but it's okay, I like it. No one was ready for how kick-ass the weapons were going to be in this DLC. And when I say everyone, I mean every single person found their match in one weapon or another. With either a pizza cutter or a hammer, the moonlight sword, amongst others. Maybe you want to look like a badass stabbing yourself with a hammer that gets more damage and increased range because of your blood. Or perhaps you want something more refined, like the Rakuyo, to cut down your enemies with fast slashes switching between the blade and the dagger. Or maybe you'd like to roleplay as Legolas and pick things apart from afar using Simon's bow blade. None of that matters for whirligig Saw players who just like to see that thing go and turn everything into minced meat. Each design is so original. Except for you, Beast Hunter Scythe, you look way too similar to Saw Cleaver, but your moveset is cool, so you can pass. Anyways, back to what is important. With these added to the formula, a New Game Plus must happen, even more than before, because now you have 11 more primary weapons, all very unique, but perhaps you're in your new game, you won't have enough Arcane to use the Moonlight Sword, or enough Blood Tinge to use the Blood Letter. So yeah, do yourself a favor and upon finishing the first playthrough, go for another. Maybe before starting a new cycle, equip all moon runes to get more blood echoes in order to increase those stats sooner. What a ride! Like, how can 5 bosses in the DLC top 17 bosses that you have in the main game? That's a good question. And we're going to find the answer for it. Let's go! The grandiose Ludwig, the leader of the church hunters. Wait, a horse? What the hell? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what can be considered the best boss fight in this game is a deranged two-headed horse with many extra limbs. At least for the first part. I dare you to comment saying Ludwig's boss fight didn't give you goosebumps. That's just out of question. From the lore we've absorbed by now, we know that Ludwig was an important hunter, the real deal, so seeing him in that accursed state is very surprising and sad. Fans speculate he was riding his horse when he fell to the blood curse and started transforming into a beast, which in some way absorbed the poor horse into the mutation, and now what you see is half man, half horse, gone crazy. Nice. The first half of his boss fight is erratic. Turbulent, there's no glory in its fighting style. It is basically a beast. The soundtrack itself demonstrates how gone he is. It is frightening and unsettling. There's no harmony there. Thanks to Antonius Tertius, I think I'm pronouncing that right, channel in the description, I was able to find an accurate translation of both Ludwig's and Lawrence's core lyrics in the soundtrack. Check this out! As you can see, the lyrics are referring to the Church Hunter's mantra. That is a callback to when he first started being a hunter, a remembrance of a time that is long gone for Ludwig. But boy oh boy, wait for the second phase to kick in. Not a single boss in this game has a second phase cutscene. Props to you, Ludwig. Why does he have one, you say? Well, when he loses his balance and plants his face into the ground, he drops something that few of us witness in his intro. His sword was indeed embedded in his back the whole time. Supposedly, Ludwig found the Holy Moonlight sword while delving into Yharnam's dungeons, and it talks to him. He hears voices that guided him to be one of the best hunters ever. Seeing it again brought him his human consciousness back, and that's why he calls it his true guiding mentor, because that's the one thing that keeps him sane after all he's done. Then he proceeds to cover half his face, only showing us its most human resemblant side. A way of telling you, you're fighting the real Ludwig now. Prepare yourself. Even the lyrics say it all. I'm not a musical expert. In fact, I can't even read sheets of music. But you don't need to have a musical degree to see that. There's harmony in the notes now. The core and the instruments are played in a tone that shows us how his clarity of mind is back. And he's ready to also make use of his hunter skills to kick your tiny ass. His moveset is much more controlled and regular. He doesn't hit you with his paws, but with a sword, which he can wield to perfection. You gotta love the sync moments between moves and music, by the way. First and only lame boss in the DLC. It's a gang fight to demonstrate the multiple people who were experimented on to ascend ended up being beasts, in other words, failures. The arena is attractive, the lumen flowers play a certain role in the lore, but gameplay-wise, it is total ass. The only cool move they have is when they converge and start raining down asteroids at you, but it can be completely negated if you stand right behind the big lumen flower. They are basically an obstacle to the true boss fight of this level. Fights with hunters are always amazing. There seems to be a pacing synergy between hunters that can't be outmatched by fights with beasts and celestial beings. Maria protects the secret of the fishing hamlet, and she's willing to die again in order to protect it. I say again because outside of the nightmare, where she is right now, she committed suicide because she couldn't live with the massacre committed at the hamlet. Lady Maria uses the Rakuyo, which is a sword that requires dexterity, which means only hunters with a lot of skill can use. At first, the fight seems like a dance, both hunters dashing forward and backwards, slicing and dicing. The instruments play a fast-paced tune until they calm down when the cello begins. Then, Maria recognizes your hunter as a formidable opponent, so she decides to leave her disgust for blood magic aside and stab herself as if she were Dante from Devil May Cry. To start making use of the vile blood skills she possesses, the very ones she rejected ideologically, to stop us from getting to the hamlet. It truly shows how desperate she is and how the situation scales, taking into account her actions and the core soundtrack. There are two explanations on why she has a third phase with fire. The first and longest is that she is a relative to the Queen of the Vile Bloods, and the people at Kinghurst are direct descendants of the Pthumerians, who had a mastery over blood and fire. So yeah, Maria is a relative to the Queen Vileblood, and thus she has those innate blood and fire powers. The second explanation is that she is spicy as fuck, and I prefer this one. Remember the road bumps I got to before? Yep, here's one of them. And you probably know who's the other. Hell, I'm sure you knew it ever since we started the video. This baby is relentless. Yes, you heard it right. You are getting destroyed by a literal newborn baby who uses his own placenta to wreck your... You know what? I'll stop here, otherwise YouTube will ban my channel due to profanity even before getting monetized. God, I remember like 3 years ago when I finally beat the orphan, I had his screams in my nightmares. Very accurately, actually. Nightmares cause... In any case, you fight the baby, struggle a lot with his erratic moveset, where he flies around, does area attacks, the whole package. Then you defeat it, slay its consciousness, and back he goes to the bottom of the sea. The sky is clear, the nightmare is technically over, although it still exists so you can explore the zones a bit more. Happy ending, right? No, because you still have one more rubbish bag to take out. Go back to the Grand Cathedral, son, they said. You still have one more beast to finish, and it will be fun, they said. Honestly, I don't even want to watch the footage, for fuck's sake. I think this was my 5th playthrough of this game, and it took me literally 2 hours and a half or 3 hours to defeat this bastard. I was on a tight schedule to record the footage for this video, and this mother fluffer made me try summoning to finish him faster. That's how desperate I was. There was no one playing, so I had to get good, and finally I got him. It only took 30-something tries, GG easy. Seriously though, he's that one beast boss that I don't recommend to get glued to his ass because he has a fast sweep attack whenever your character is behind him, which at least for me was very hard to read. His attacks do a ton of damage, even with the set that protects you from fire. When he loses his legs, things get way out of control, vomiting lava everywhere, 7 to 8 hit combos. He's probably the first boss ever that gets stronger after being handicapped. What the hell? Nonetheless, he got Chikage'd back to hell. I must point out his soundtrack is beautiful. It loops around subjects like he tried to find humanity through the old blood, but that sacred blood is exactly what turned him into a beast. I really like some lines such as I don't know if it was done on purpose, most likely yes, but it reminds me a lot of Nietzsche's sentence. If you gaze long into the abyss also gazes back into you. Which in this context must mean something like, if you meddle too deep into the great being/beast blood business, you'll soon end up like one of them. A lot of thought was put into his track, details that were surely going to fly by because almost no one understands full Latin, and the people who do won't be paying attention to the core because they are trying to fight arguably the most difficult boss in the game, or at least top 3. So yeah, very cool detail. To sum up, The Old Hunters is a massive DLC that expended heavily in the main game. It should be considered like an example, a standard of how DLC, like additional content, should be created for games nowadays.
But Yuri,
It's hard for a first-person shooter to create quality con. Shut the fuck up, Call of Duty. I'm not even talking to you. You're beyond saving. Back to the DLC, it added amazing weapons, breathtaking zones, tough and aesthetically cool enemies. It complements all the blanks we had lore-wise from the base game, and 80% of its bosses are top tier, which is a very high percentage considering that there are other Souls games out there where they add bosses from the base game into the DLC but with a different color. Dark Souls 2, or garbage bosses like Champion's Grave Tender and Half-Light Spear of the Church, Dark Souls 3. Its original price is $20, but it tends to get discounted a lot to $10. Needless to say, it is a complete steal in your favor if you get it for 10 bucks. Although 20, it's still an excellent bargain for the content you get. So yeah, if you haven't bought it yet, go get it. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video. If you made it here, you have the honor of knowing it will be about Yakuza Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Damn, that's a long ass title.